Ohio, and welcome to Retire Well with Kevin Bucher. He's one of the co-founders of Citizen Advisory Group right here in Ohio. I'm your host, Spike Spangle. Kevin, great to see you. What is on your mind this week when it comes to retirement planning?
So one of my favorite topics we're going to discuss today, Spike, we're going to be walking through the retirement checkpoints in the comprehensive financial planning work that we do at Citizen Advisory Group.
I myself am excited about that. Every single week, Kevin likes to take you through retirement strategies such as this. Again, I'm your host, Spike Spangle, and the checkpoints, it's part of the process. It's on your website. Folks, if you'd like to see the website, actually, if we can pull that graphic back up on the bottom, you can use the QR code. You open your phone to the camera function down there, point it down at that black and white box down there, and it'll take you right over to the website over there where folks can schedule an appointment right now. So even while you're listening to the program, say, you know what, I'd like to get my retirement checkpoint review started. But you're actually going to explain some of the points of where they're at. Isn't the biggest one, haven't I saved enough money?
Yes.
Is that it?
Yeah. So if you're wondering questions like that, like when will I be financially ready to retire? Have I saved enough, or am I saving enough? How much will I be able to spend in retirement? Am I going to be able to keep Uncle Sam's hands out of my pocket in taxes? So if you're wondering those things, that's what the retirement checkpoints are all about, setting you up for success so that you can retire well.
Well, let's give the audience here maybe just a review of them. Investment strategy, that's obviously got to be a big part of it. But I also like that, I think you guys say around the firm, is that we like to work with the assets that you have accumulated and see how we can bring them together. This isn't about just having a magic threshold. You say, look, you've saved what you've saved. You've got the retirement lifestyle, plan for the last 20 or 30 years that you've put together through working. Now what do we do with it? Is that what the checkpoint's about?
Yes. So, really they're pieces to a puzzle. And our job as financial advisors is to take these pieces, and some of them are really comprehensive or complex pieces of the puzzle. We have to take the pieces of the puzzle and put it together so that you can see exactly what your retirement is going to look like and make sure that it's the retirement that you're looking for. So they're pieces of the puzzle. We need to put those together so that you can make informed decisions, know what retirement's going to look like before you actually get into retirement.
Okay, so for one of the checkpoints I was going to maybe ask you about, can we start with investments? Is that the first place? We got to first see if we've saved enough?
Well, most people would probably think that is where you start. And I think most advisors also want to jump right to the investments. As a matter of fact, some advisors, most advisors, quite frankly, only work with you in regards to your investments. So they help you put together a portfolio of investments. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to minimize the importance of your investment strategy because it is important. But I also don't want to start there, Spike.
Okay.
Because I don't feel like we can talk about the investment strategy until we understand what we need your money to do for you in retirement.
All right. Well, let's kick off there then. I mean, first of all, I'm pretty sure through other programs we've done and through your many, many years of doing this, we know that our money can't be asleep. And we're not talking about taking way, way too much risk. But we can't just be, even though interest rates have gone up, we can't just be saving the money in the bank. It's got to be doing something because of the high rates of inflation and because of other risks you've talked about before, like longevity. So how do we start the process?
Well, I think you start with the retirement planning process, which has two phases. Phase number one is in those working years when you're in your accumulation or your saving strategy. So how much should you be saving to get to the retirement, to properly fund the retirement you're trying to fund? And we help our clients through that process. But then as you get closer to retirement, it transitions into what is your retirement income strategy? How are we going to pull together your resources of Social Security, potentially a pension if you're lucky, and then your investment portfolio? How do we pull that together through a retirement income plan that will sustain your needs for the rest of your life? So it really starts there because a lot of people want to jump ahead to the investment strategy. And the problem with that is if we don't know what we need your investments to do for you, how could we possibly make investment recommendations? And I know a lot of firms do that because that's where the money is for them. But we have to start with building out this retirement income plan so we know what we need your money to do. It's just like this journey. Any journey you take, you have to know how to pack your bags. And so before we pack your bags with investments, we need to know what journey we're trying to take on this retirement journey.
It's kind of like booking a trip and calling the airline and saying, how fast is the plane going to be going? Most people come and say, what are my investments going to make? You're saying, wait a second, I need to know, what are we trying to do?
Yes.
How long do we need them to last? Who are we providing for? What is the lifestyle going to be? You're not even talking about the returns yet.
No, and it really is like a foreign concept to most people because we're so focused over our working years of looking at the balance in our 401k accounts. But what we're not accustomed to is how to take that lump sum and turn it into a cash flow or monthly paychecks or weekly paychecks to live off of, because we're used to living off of our working wages or working paycheck. So it is a foreign concept, but it is, again, it's a critical piece to your financial plan so that you have a secured retirement for the rest of your life.
Can I go just a little bit more specific with those? Because you just started talking about a lump sum and then trying to figure out how long it's going to last. And I think maybe a lot of our viewers, I certainly know I've done this myself. You take the total amount of what you've saved and you start dividing it into years and months and seeing how long, hopefully, it will last in your mind, adding in Social Security. But taking it even one further step back, which accounts am I supposed to take from first? So, I mean, you have many different kinds of clients. Maybe somebody has $100,000 or several $100,000 saved in one retirement account. Spouse has another $500,000 saved in this retirement account. You've got a Roth IRA over here. You've got maybe an annuity. Which ones do I take from first?
You know, as you explain it, Spike, it sounds really complicated.
It is, because I haven't figured it out yet.
So, you know, financial planning is maybe very confusing for a lot of people. Planning for your retirement is not something that there's a lot of education around. And we have the benefit as a firm of doing this over and over again, walking this retirement journey with people that are from a variety of walks of life that come with many different levels of resources. So for some retirees, they have really nice Social Security benefits. Others might retire with a really nice pension. So everybody has a different situation, and you know, you work with what you have. So when we're working with somebody, it's not about what got you to where you're at today, it's about where you are and how can we make that better and more efficient for you for the rest of your life.
We're going to continue to talk about the Retirement Checkpoint Review. This is what we're giving out to all of our viewers out here. But as you can imagine, Kevin's book fills up very, very quickly. So we want you to call the phone number as soon as you can. When you do, we're going to book you an appointment so you can get your Retirement Checkpoint Review. Yes, the investments are incredibly important. The risk, the fees that you're taking in there, we're going to take a look at all of that. But also, Kevin is going to continue to cover throughout today's program the other checkpoints on the list, everything from taxes, legacy planning. We'll talk more about that in a bit. But call right now so you can get started on your own Retirement Checkpoint Review. 866-630-1675. More with Kevin Bucher of Citizen Advisory Group when we get back right after this.
Whether it's time with your grandkids, travel, or finally doing what you've always wanted, retirement is about having the time to live life on your schedule. At Citizen Advisory Group, we build comprehensive retirement plans customized to your individual goals. Whether you're still preparing, taking your first steps, or have been on the path for years, our trusted and caring professionals are here to help you manage the risks and navigate the challenges on the road to your financial future. Citizen Advisory Group, your retirement journey begins here.
Welcome back to Retire Well with Kevin Bucher of Citizen Advisory Group, a financial advisory firm right here in Ohio. You are a family firm. It's not just your wonderful face broadcasting here and doing the live events. You've got your brother, you've got your team of advisors. You do all kinds of retirement planning, which is exactly why we're talking about your checklist, the checkpoint review, I'm sorry. It's not just about investing. What are some of the other aspects, if you don't mind, before we go deeper into it?
Yes. So you look at these 5 checkpoints. One of them is investment management, and you do have to have the right investment strategy for you, and we'll probably come back to that and cover that. The second is the retirement income planning process. You have to have a sustainable income stream, and we'll talk through about how we go about building that retirement income plan. The third area is tax planning, so taking control of your taxes. instead of constantly just looking in the rearview mirror at the years that have already happened, having a forward-looking tax plan so that you can reduce your long-term tax liability. The fourth area is going to be the insurance package, what we call risk management, health insurance, life insurance, long-term care insurance, making sure that you have the right package of insurance for you, because your insurance needs do change throughout time. And then fifth and final checkpoint would be the legacy and estate planning piece, making sure that you have your house in order so that you pass your assets on how you intend for them to be passed when you're no longer here. But also, just importantly, is making sure you have your legal affairs in order so that if something were to happen to you, the proper protections are in place for your family to make informed decisions about your medical and financial situation.
So those are the checkpoints, and these you go into very in depth with each one of the folks who comes in, their families, if you will, to become clients. Not everyone becomes a client, not everyone's a great fit, not everyone needs as much complex financial planning, but a lot of folks who usually come through your threshold have been saving, working, right? And then they're trying to figure out their distribution. How do we take the Social Security? What about those RMDs and all of that put together? And it does become complex. It's like, do you want to be managing this on your own in retirement, or do you want to have somebody help you out with it?
Yeah, so there's these 5 distinct areas. All of them are fairly complex as a standalone. So what I can assure you of, that the right steps to take is probably not to try to dive in and cover all 5 of these complex areas at one time. We're going to discuss them. We're going to assess where you're at along the way, but then we're going to be able to highlight where are some of the critical areas that we need to start addressing first. So we're going to be able to prioritize these checkpoints, and they're not the type of checkpoints that, okay, we cleared this checkpoint, we're done, and we don't have to revisit that. These are the checkpoints that we have to revisit on an ongoing basis and make small little tweaks and steps to improve your situation over time.
Right. And you have to take into account what it's like for the tax situation here in Ohio. Let me ask you this. Some of our viewers, if they're getting prepared for retirement, maybe they're possibly looking for warmer climates later on. Or can you help with folks who are going to have a multifaceted retirement, meaning going to different locations, spousal projections as well? How does the whole plan come together?
Yeah, so that all fits into the retirement checkpoint process. And what I would say to it is, we've created this framework that brings all of these complex areas together into one visual place that allows people to maybe see their financial future in a way that they haven't seen before. And the comments that we often get about that, it's like, you just gave me a crystal ball into my future, and the most likely outcome of that is you walk away feeling a lot more comfortable. You might have walked into the appointment a little fearful that maybe you haven't saved enough, maybe you're not on track for your retirement, but the general outcome is that, hey, things are actually a lot better than I thought, and you just feel a lot better about the process.
Right, right. So let's talk just a little bit before we go out to break here about kind of that income strategy. Why don't you talk us through some of those actual nuts and bolts of it? We, of course, have the retirement accounts. And if we've been 2 working spouses, which, let's be honest, hardworking Americans here in Ohio, we usually have a lot of 2-income families. So we've got different retirement accounts. One might have $500,000 over here. We've got $750,000 in another former 401k. We've got a spouse who has some savings. When do you start talking then about turning on that Social Security? Are you an early proponent on Social Security? Wait, delay? And then I want to ask you about RMDs.
Yes, so it actually starts there. So as we're building out this process, the retirement income plan for our clients, it actually starts with these contractually guaranteed, maybe non-portfolio options of Social Security and maybe your pension. So Social Security for many is just a cornerstone piece to their financial stability and security. And we recognize the importance of Social Security because the difference between your Social Security strategies can be upwards of $100,000 over the course of your lifetime. So it's a decision that we have to get right. And so you asked if I was a proponent of the early or delay.
Middle, late.
I am a proponent of looking at your financial situation and making the right decision for you and your family. And in some instances, that is taking Social Security early, some is taking it late. It's going to be very specific to you and your individual situation.
So the water cooler advice, try not to pay attention. Even successfully with your parents and your grandparents, they said, well, I took it early, or I waited as long. you're saying that we really shouldn't take the advice of others when it comes to our retirement.
Correct. So we provide Social Security analysis that shows you maybe the optimal strategy based on your given lifetime. We show side-by-side Social Security comparisons so you can see the difference between these strategies. But then ultimately, it's a decision that you cannot make out on an island insulated from your other retirement situations, right? So we have to bring that all together, and that's what the retirement income planning process is all about. It brings these complex topics together so that you can make the right decisions for you and your situation. And to piggyback on that, it's very common in a household that our recommendation is for one of the spouses to wait while the other spouse taking it early, right? So it's not a one size fits all. It's got to be very specific to the situation.
Because some of those filing strategies from Social Security have pretty much gone away. That file and suspend, we don't even need to talk about it, but you used to be able to flip-flop. One of you take earlier, one of you take the spouses.
Yes.
But it's pretty much gone. So now it's about pinpointing the right time for you.
Yes. So a lot of those, what we would call advanced claiming strategies of Social Security, unfortunately, legislation was passed to get rid of those because they kind of saw them as a loophole. But that doesn't make the Social Security about when you should take your the decision about when you should take your Social Security any less important. It's a very important decision to your finances over the course of your lifetime.
So today we are talking about some of the retirement checkpoints that the team here at Citizen Advisory Group will actually go through. I'd like to talk a little bit more about perhaps taxes, if you don't mind. There's a phrase that I keep seeing. I'm wondering who this person Roth is. They seem to be very popular right now, so I'd like to talk about them after the break.
Absolutely.
If you don't mind, though, for people who might just be joining, why don't you explain all of the point of the checkpoint review before we go out to break here?
Okay, so we're offering a complimentary retirement checkpoint review for the callers from today's show so that you can come in, walk through these different checkpoints and see exactly where you're at on your journey to make sure that you're actually on the path for your desired retirement. So for callers from today's show, we're offering a no-cost, no-obligation retirement checkpoint review. Call 866-630-1675 for that complimentary retirement checkpoint review today.
As I said, Kevin, we're going to take a very short break. I also want to let you know, folks, if you open up your phones and go to that QR code on the screen, that black and white box down there, open up your phone to the camera function, just like you've done at restaurants and you've opened up menus. Point it at the QR code. It'll take you right over to the website. You can schedule an appointment right there. Scroll down to the bottom of the screen. There's a little button down there, and you can schedule your own appointment to get your retirement checkpoint review. Or call the phone number you see right here, 866-630-1675. More with Kevin Bucher of Citizen Advisory Group when we get back right after this.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
Welcome back to Retire Well with Kevin Bucher of Citizen Advisory Group right here in Ohio. I'm your host, Spike Spangle. We're talking about the retirement checkpoint review, what exactly that means. Of course, it's going to review your investments, your costs, the risk that you're taking. We're going to want to manage our risks. You talk everything about health insurance, even insuring in different ways, making sure that we have reliable income streams in retirement. But I've got to go back to this topic. I feel we've talked a bit about it the last few weeks, though. Taxes. Who is Roth? Why are we converting? Why is this so important? Why am I hearing about this all over the place, Kevin?
All right, so taxes is a fun topic, right? And it's maybe not fun to pay taxes, but if we can get out in front of taxes, maybe we can turn that upside down. And I think before we get into Mr. Roth, let's talk a little bit about how taxes maybe are not as straightforward when we get into retirement as it was when we were working, right? So when we're working, we're earning a wage, and that wage is going to be taxable. So we pay income tax on the wage. But when we enter into retirement, there's different variables that come into play that maybe complicate the tax strategies or the tax situation. But we need to understand those rules so that we can be out in front of it and use the taxes more to our advantage. So for example, I work with a lot of different clients, and they all have different tax situations. But I just want to give an example of Bob and George. Both entered into retirement with different financial situations. Bob retired with a pension. He retired with a low Social Security benefit because his pension was from an employer that didn't pay into Social Security. So he has a very low Social Security benefit, but his income is coming from this pension. George, on the other hand, is retiring, and he's primarily living off of his Social Security benefit at this point. So Bob's income, pension-oriented, is $50,000. George's income, which is mostly from Social Security between him and his wife, is actually closer to $90,000. Would it surprise you to know that Bob, whose income is $50,000, pays more income taxes than George? So we have to understand that taxes aren't so straightforward when we get to retirement, and know those rules and start maneuvering some things around so that we can be more like George than Bob.
And I think for a lot of our viewers, including myself, we sit back passively and sometimes frustrated. We go, taxes are what they are. Why do I want to do tax planning? I have to say, though, Kevin, and through programs like yours, I have actually begun to become excited about taxes because I realize it is a game that I can play a little bit. Now, I'm having to learn the rules along the way, and you want to do it all properly, but there are moves that we can make. So I do want to ask you again, the Roth
Yes.
and the Roth conversion.
Yes.
Are you talking to clients about that?
Very much so. So basically, we see the bulk of the population has a disproportionate amount of their retirement savings in pre-taxed retirement accounts, like a 401k, 403b, or 457, IRA, where they have not paid the taxes yet. So we're in a low tax environment today. It might not feel like it because no one likes, I've never met with someone, Spike, that felt like I'm paying too much, right? Everyone feels like they're paying too much.
Yeah.
But the reality is tax rates are low today. So there is a mechanism that would allow you to take pre-taxed money, those IRAs and 401ks, convert it to a Roth account that is now tax-free. And if you can do that strategically at the lowest tax rates possible, you can get out in front of the tax game. And going back to my example with George, for example, George's income today is 100% Social Security. He actually pays $0 in taxes, and that should be celebrated. However, George is making a mistake because he's sitting on lots of pre-taxed money that he's going to have to withdraw at the age of 73 through the required minimum distribution process. And when that happens, his tax liability is going to go from 0 to the 24% tax bracket. So my point to George is, let's not set back today at 0. Let's take full advantage of 10 and 12 so that we can hopefully avoid that 24 later. And that's through this Roth conversion process.
So when you say George is sitting on a lot, can you give me a ballpark number? What are we talking about?
Yeah, so George is sitting on $1 million to $1.5 million of pre-tax money.
So are you saying that he should not do it all at once right now? Maybe a little bit every year for what, the next 2 years, 3 years? Are we trying to do it before the taxes sunset or just over the next 3 or 4 year ramp?
Yes, so you could certainly Roth convert the whole chunk because there's no limits on a Roth conversion. but there is pain involved with the Roth
Yeah.
conversion, right? Because you do have to pay tax on the amount you're conversion. So no, we aren't suggesting that he does it all at once. We're suggesting that you do this in increments, taking advantage of what you can do for 10%. 10% is a discount. 12%, that's also a discount. But then we'll avoid those higher tax rates of 22 and 24%. So yes, strategically walking money from the pre-tax to the tax-free while it makes sense to do so.
It might seem like a strange follow-up, but because you are suggesting that he should do this. And again, everybody's tax situation is different, so please consult with your advisor. But in this situation, he's relying currently on Social Security. He's got all of his pre-tax money that he hasn't paid taxes on. You do want him to convert it over. So I was going to ask, is it worth it? Or is there a certain age when it's not worth doing a Roth conversion? Or do you think it's a good idea for most Americans out there?
Yeah, I think for most Americans, based on your specific tax brackets, it's a good idea to move some pre-tax money to the tax-free, because once it's in tax-free, it's not just the amount that you converted that stays tax-free. It's any growth on top of that is also tax-free. Compared to leaving that money in the pre-taxed account, any growth is going to be still taxed on the way out. So it's harder to do Roth conversions once you've reached that required minimum distribution age, because that's just another income stream that we have to work around that we can't walk away from. You have to take those distributions or be subject to penalty. So there's this window in what I call early retirement, from the day you retire till you're 73, that is usually a very tax efficient window to do these Roth conversions.
Well, this is the Retirement Checkpoint Review, but again, better from you, Kevin. Why don't you explain to the viewers exactly what you're going to review for them when they call the phone number here before we leave today?
Yeah, so the Retirement Checkpoint Review covers 5 different areas of the financial planning process. We're going to evaluate where you are at within these different checkpoints and be able to identify where are the areas of focus that we need to concentrate on now. We're not going to try to tackle it all at once. You know, I know for many, financial planning is confusing and complex, but we've created this common sense framework so that you can be involved in the process and make informed decisions. For callers from today's show, we're offering a complimentary Retirement Checkpoint Review. So call 866-630-1675 for your complimentary Retirement Checkpoint Review today.
Investments, taxes, we didn't even get to the estate planning and risk management, so on future programs, I think I'd like to talk about that as well. Folks, get your own complimentary Retirement Checkpoint Review. 866-630-1675. Thank you for watching. We'll be back next week.